Okay, I have. What's your name again?
I forget.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Once I tried to play, where Brett was, I tried to play with this interview too. He found out that, oof, this is the real thing. There's no editing here.
No editing. Uh-oh.
Famous Robert Jones, investigative reporter from New Brunswick. Well, we just learned the news about an hour ago. The Carleton Free Press is shut down. What do you think about that?
Well, it's tough, you know. I mean, well, first of all, I'm from Woodstock originally, and it was great for the community to have two newspapers. I mean, it would be great for every community to have two newspapers, but the Carleton Free Press really represented, you know, an important development in journalism in New Brunswick. And, you know, last year the Canadian Association of Journalists gave them their highest award, the President's Award, just for starting up. You know, the ownership of the newspaper business in New Brunswick is so tight that you know, any alternative is a real positive thing, and so when you lose that, I mean, that's a real negative thing.
What do you see New Brunswick in the future when it comes to newspapers?
Well, I mean, the newspaper business is in transition anyway. I mean, a lot of the big, great newspapers are having circulation problems, so it's difficult to know what the future will be. I mean, presumably everything has been moving online, and ultimately it's hard to comprehend in 10 or 20 years people actually getting a physical newspaper. So you know, it's hard to say. I mean, I think it's a tough thing to run a newspaper in this environment, but you know, it would be great if we could get some different publications in New Brunswick, and it was from you know, some different perspectives, different editorial teams looking at issues and digging into issues for the people of New Brunswick.
We don't see too many reporters investigating the Irvings. Why is that?
Well, I mean, if
Irving reporters, Irving reporters, I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, you don't see too many CBC reporters investigating the CBC. I mean, it's tough to do, to look at your own ownership group and look for trouble. I mean, who in their right mind would do that? If you had a choice of stories to do, A or B, and A was going to be embarrassing to your ownership and B wasn't, I mean, self-preservation argues that you would tend to do, you know, one story over the other. I mean, pretty much everybody who has worked for the papers and then left ultimately talks about self-censorship. They're not ordered not to do stories. They just kind of edit themselves. They censor themselves from doing certain stories. Lots of people have come through that organization and have come out the other side and said the same thing that way.
Are you concerned when the Irvings gave $1 million to the journalism course at St. Thomas?
No, I don't. I'm not that concerned about that. I mean, you know, the alternative is that they don't give the money. So, you know, I mean, like, do you have an example of things that the journalism school does or doesn't do because they have gotten some money from Irving?
I just thought that they'd be sort of like brainwashing the young journalists the Irving way. Maybe it's me that's paranoid as a blogger.
Well, I know a lot of people who work at the school there in Fredericton. And
Philly, nice guy.
Yeah, and a good solid journalist. Michael Camp works up there. You know, those aren't people who are kowtowing to anybody. I mean, no, I don't have any big problems with that.
Okay.
Or do you think they should be forbidden from donating money?
Listen, I'm doing the interview here, so
let's be fair for a minute though. If they're often criticized for not donating money to things, and so if they donate money to something.
Let's just say that I'm a little bit paranoid when it comes to a big company like the Irvings that own all the newspapers. And
there's no question that the ownership issue is not very good. Oh, you got to do your edit. Okay. Sorry, Charles.
Sorry, Charles.
That's all right.
Then I'm refusing to answer your question. And you're chasing me.
Robert. Who's down there? Stay here?
Yeah, we're
okay. We'll just keep on going.
Sorry
CBC.
about
Oh,
that.
that's
Sorry for that
CBC.
interruption.
CBC at work. Now, how did you change the subject here? How did you change into a guru, gas guru?
Well, it's, that's all marketing and packaging. Really, when they started regulated pricing in New Brunswick, after a while, I said to my bosses, you know what, I think we could probably predict these price changes if we put a little effort into it and, save people a few bucks here and there if we gave them a heads up. And so we started doing that, and it became, was out of control popular as far as things that we do. People are so fixated on the price of gasoline, first of all, but all kinds of petroleum products. And if you're from New Brunswick and you can save $1 or two, well, that really turns you on. So, it just became so popular that I'm kind of a prisoner of it now.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. If you're so concerned and busy about which New Brunswickers are concerned, does that take you away from other stories?
Not really, because it takes really, literally, probably 10 minutes a day to just keep track of the prices. Total during the week, it might take me an hour to do. Not much. I shouldn't even admit that, because I try to pretend to my boss that it takes hours and hours, but it takes no time really. And people appreciate it, and so
you get a lot of comments on the street.
Yeah, no, and it actually does save people actual dollars, and people like that. So what do you got? You got to do it.
Thank God for CBC. What does Robert Jones use? Gas, natural gas, oil, or electricity in your home?
Well, I bought this old house with this old oil furnace in it, and so I've had oil for quite a long time. And this year I decided to switch from oil. We don't have natural gas in our neighborhood, so, the only alternative is electricity. And I was going to switch to electricity, but the price of oil came down, since the summer. I think over 40 cents a liter. So I'm sort of, I'm kind of a